Hey, I'm Caressa.
Hey, I'm Maddie.
You're not watching the Disney Channel right now.
Listening to
Dreadfully
Dreadfully
Twisted.
Twisted.
It only took me like 3 tries to get that right. Because I'm just a mess today, I guess. Because I was trying. Okay, I
Cats are
was
kind of wound
trying.
up, so if you hear something, yeah.
That's okay. You're not talking in the right side. I need to figure out this. Okay, it's good now. I've been having issues with this. But the good thing about today's case is that there is no murder.
Yay! We love those.
Because I just feel like this is really interesting for one, and for two, we needed like a palate cleanser after the last couple.
Yeah.
And this one was, let me just say, I didn't think there was as much to it as I thought there was. There's so much more, and it's so interesting and so crazy. Kind of sad, but there's no murder, so not as heavy as any other case that we've done. And the funny thing about it is the reason why I chose this is because Jeremy was watching a YouTube video of Whistling Diesel.
hmm
He's like a YouTube like person that does YouTube videos. Myself there, but he like makes these YouTube videos where he will like destroy like cars and stuff.
hmm
Like they like it's really cool. Like I like to watch his stuff. But he bought a bulldozer,
hmm
and then the case today is the Killdozer from 2004. Have
Bulldozer.
you ever heard of it?
Uh-uh.
Okay, well, very interesting. And I feel bad for the main guy, um, just because like for like a little overview is he. Where's the cat?
Hang on one second.
That's okay. Kitty. Okay, sorry about that distraction. The cute distraction that is a cat. Where was I? Oh, so the little overview of this case is the main guy. His name's Marvin Heemeyer, and in he moved to like Colorado, and the whole town he thought was against him.
Oh.
So yeah. um, so we're gonna start with going into Marvin Heemeyer's like life. So Marvin John Heemeyer was born October 28th, 1951 in Castlewood, South Dakota, on a dairy farm. Castlewood, South Dakota is a very small town, a city in Hamlin County, which is part of the Dakota Metropolitan
Talking is hard.
Statistical area. The population in the 2020 census was 698 people. Imagine living in a town where there's
Wow.
only 600
Yeah.
people. And then their motto, it's really cute, but small town with a big heart.
Huh.
So cute. Castlewood is located along the Big Sioux River. In 1974, Marvin moved to Colorado because he was stationed in the Air Force at Lowry Air Force Base. In 1989, he moved to Grand Lake, Colorado, which is only 15 miles away from Granby, Colorado. I feel like I'm saying Colorado weird. Is it Colorado or Colorado? Does that
I
even
say
sound any?
Colorado.
Does that sound any different? I feel like I just said the same thing over. Um, Marvin said in his tapes, because he did a 2 hour long tape of over this, he was in the bulldozer. That he was only going to be there for 6 months because he was taking a vacation, but then decided to stay and bought some property. 2 lots with 3 little cabins, which had a beautiful view, and the price was really cheap. Marvin had a knack for welding, which you will see later, because that comes into play, and working on engines and motors. He worked at a muffler shop and quickly built his way up in his business. Well, in the business. He thought that he could do it himself, then went out and started his own muffler shop. He was able to make income from businesses. He started in northern Denver and Boulder area. He was a very devoted and loyal friend to all of his friends that he had. And then, like, I don't really understand this quote. It doesn't make sense to me,
Hmm.
but I just thought it was interesting from the documentary that I
Yeah.
watched and everything. Marvin stated, if you got a champagne income with a beer case. You're going to do well, and that's what I always had. That's the way it should be. That's the only way I could get. No idea what that means.
Me either.
Okay. Trisha McDonald or MacDonald? Trisha MacDonald. Okay, let me just repeat. Trisha MacDonald met Marvin in Lariat's saloon in Grand Lake. She was with a friend, and Marvin went right up to her and asked her out. Just imagine just going there to somebody like, "Hey, you want to go out with me?"
Name first. Like, I don't even.
She was married before him, and she said he was old school, very nice and sweet. He was great to her. He was confident and larger than life. She said she thought he was handsome, and she felt safe with him. He met Trisha's children once, and he never had any children. They went on many road trips together, and never was a dull moment. Through the whole interview with Trisha, she was smiling, and you could tell her on her face about him, like you could just see it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of love.
Uh-uh.
Yeah. And it's just like, I don't know, because whenever he asked her out, she was just like, yeah.
Sure. Why not? Really feeling the
Yeah. So Marvin had like a lot of hobbies. He liked to weld. He liked to work on engines and motors at the muffler shop. But Marvin also loved to snowmobile. Every Thursday, a group of guys between like 40 and 50 guys, or 20 guys, I mean. Wait, I'm really messing this up today. This is what like having a really crappy week at work does to you. It just mushes your brain. Every Thursday, a group of 20 guys, they would take the day off and go ride snowmobiles. Sometimes there was 4 guys, and sometimes there was as much as 24 guys who would go riding. There was this one who went riding with him, and his name was Matt Reed. He was 16 when he started. The rest of the guys were between 40 and 50 years old. But he couldn't drink with them or anything. He said that he still had to go home and answer to mom.
Sorry, can't go out. I gotta hang out with my mom.
But he said Marvin took him under his wing. He taught him how to snowmobile, how to work on them. In an aspect, he always was a mentor and always helped and always gave. His friend Stuart Spencer said that Marvin was his best friend and that he said that he looked to him as his older brother. When snowmobiling, Marvin made, okay, this is impressive. Marvin made glove dryers, a grill. He would take stock steel and bend it custom to every single machine. They said you weren't a snowmobiler in Grand Lake unless you had a Marv bumper. They said that the bumpers made them take down 4-inch to 5-inch trees. They would just keep going. They would just knock everything down and they snowmobiled. Matt also said that if he got beat by anyone riding snowmobiling, that was the last time he would get beat by that person on that mountain. He was very competitive. Marvin bought Trisha her own Polaris and taught her how to go on a trail. So he was like really into it. Like his like main life was just snowmobiling. I mean, it sounds fun.
Yeah.
It sounds dangerous, but it sounds fun. I don't know if I ever would snowmobile.
Yeah.
I went snow tubing.
Sounds fun. Yeah, snow tubing.
I went snow tubing once and I was terrified.
Yeah.
For my life. So scared. So now that we talked about Marvin's like life a little bit, like early life, because there wasn't much about his early life, we're gonna talk about Granby. But first, I need a drink. Granby, Colorado was founded in 1904 and was incorporated in 1905. It is a statutory town in Grand County. I was reversing there. Granby was originally a railhead town for the Moffat Railroad. A railhead, which I didn't know this because I actually looked it up because I wasn't sure what it was.
Mm-hmm.
A railhead is a point on the railway where loads are transferred between. It's not a vacation spot at all. It's just like a small little town in Colorado. Granby thrived as a commercial center for small businesses, ranchers, farmers. It is labeled a blue-collar town. In the 2020 town's population, or the 2020 census, the town population was 2,070. It is 85 miles northeast of Denver and 14 miles southwest of Rocky Mountain National Park. It was named after Granby Hiller, who was the Denver lawyer who later served as the United States attorney for that city's district. Many of the Granby and Grand County residents are settlers who arrived before the country was fully surveyed. Early families established themselves under the Homestead Act of 1862, which allowed easy access to land to those who would inhabit and improve upon the territory. Granby sits at 7,935 feet above sea level in the valley of the Fraser River. You have to like small towns in order to live there. Sometimes the weather wouldn't go higher than 10 degrees for 2 weeks straight, and that wasn't common. Climate type is dominated by the winter season, a long, bitterly cold period with short, clear days relative to little precipitation, mostly in the form of snow and low humidity. Have to be more independent in Granby. Neighbors know your business more than in any cause conflict. Like word travels so fast in small towns, it's insane.
Yeah.
Marvin's friend from heard about this FDIC auction and asked Marvin to check it out for him. And since Marvin, being a good friend and devoted to his friends, he agreed. And Granby was the next town over for Marvin. An FDIC auction, in case anybody doesn't know, is whenever a house goes into foreclosure and the bank sells it to get their money back. So this FDIC foreclosed property held a 300 square foot building that had 2 acres of ground. His friend had an auto body shop, and it seemed like the perfect spot for it. The bidding started for $35,000 from a guy up front, which was under the $66K that Marvin's friend gave him for the purchase. Then Marvin bid $40,000 on it. The bid came from the former owner of the property. Yeah. So the property went in foreclosure because this person didn't make payments, but then they're trying to buy it back.
Okay, then.
Like, you should have did that before this happened. Otherwise, you wouldn't have lost your property.
Exactly.
So the former owner was Cody Docheff, who was the owner of Mountain Park Concrete. He wanted to win back his land to put a concrete operation with the indoor batch plant. Again, you should have did this before.
Yeah.
Docheff showed up with Gus Harris. Gus was sponsoring the money for it, and he wasn't willing to go more than $50,000. So Marvin was waiting for him to bid, but he wouldn't. So Marvin got the property for $50,000. And Marvin didn't know that he wanted to win back his property. He was just like thinking it was just like another auction. After Marvin got the property, he claimed that Cody went up to him and had some words. Marvin said he was the rudest guy he ever met. He introduced himself by giving him a tongue lashing for about 10 minutes. Cody apparently was the only one screaming for not getting the property throughout the auction. After Cody freaked out on Marvin offered Cody to buy the property back for $66,000 because that was what he expected to pay, and Cody didn't have enough money, so he didn't offer. However, again, Cody said he never talked with Marvin at the auction during or after, which I don't believe that.
Yeah.
He said that he never even met Marvin there. Cody claimed that he and Gus just walked out after. Gus also states it never happened, and he never paid much attention to Marvin at the auction. He claims that Cody wasn't really interested in the property at the time, and there was no agreement or talk of him owning that property. Or maybe he would be interested later, but he wasn't.
No, me either.
You could say whatever because you're still here and Marvin's not. Plot twist. Marvin stated in the tapes that Cody would have been mad at anyone who bought that property, which I kind of believe that.
Oh, yeah.
And then this is the crazy part too. His friend gave him the money for this, right? So Marvin's friend ended up backing off the deal. Which left Marvin to figure out what to do with the property. Marvin thought it was because of the cleanup that had to be done on the property. So Marvin decided to clean it up himself while he figured out what to do. He decided to open a muffler shop since he was doing so well with his other ones. And since the property was only 20 minutes from his house compared to the 2-hour commute to the one in Boulder.
Oh my God.
Imagine driving 2 hours to work.
Yeah. So
I drive an hour and I don't like it. Like, I can't drive 2 hours. Like, that would kill me. Like, I would just be like, no, I'm done.
Like a whole mini road trip every day.
Yeah, like an hour is too much for me. Just thinking that being double.
Yeah,
And
the no from me.
yeah. He also leased out spots for people to hold their boats over the winter. So he was making income that way as well. Because my eyes are not working. Either my eyes are not working or my brain's not working. I think it's my brain. When Marvin bought the property, all it had was a concrete mixer tank that was halting the sewage. In 1992, the county wanted Marvin to be annexed into the district. Ron Thompson was on the board for the sewer district. Ron was outspoken in the meetings and took a leadership role in the decisions that they made, and it upset Marvin. The closest sewer main was several hundred feet away, about 400 feet from Marvin's property. So, in order for Marvin to build onto that, he would have had to build a long service line from his property to the main. When he learned that um, it was also going to cost him anywhere between $60,000 to $80,000, he was very upset.
Yeah,
Which is understandable.
definitely understandable.
That's an insane amount of money. A lot of money to fork out. They make you pay for the installation in the sewer line that you do not want to install, and then you have to hook it up yourself. Marvin refused to do it. Marvin took it as they cut him out of the opportunity to hook up to their sanitation district and denied him access. Marvin said that if they hadn't done that, the whole thing would have been different. I guess this was the start of the downfall. The Thompson family is what they call the Granby legacy family. They own a lot of land because they've lived there for a long time. Also had an excavation business. The first Thompson family that lived in Granby bought lodging properties, and in course of that, they bought little pieces of property around the town. They formed their own excavation company. Dick Thompson was the son of the first Thompson family. Dick had several children. Ron was the leading son, Larry was the older son, and Gary went along with him, doing a lot of excavation work. Marvin felt like the Thompson family was the epitome of the Granby establishment that did everything they could to prevent Marvin from doing whatever, letting him live his life, it seemed like. Marvin said that he was making lemonade out of lemon. He kept about his business because it was a small community and he was making a good income there. So that's why he stayed. And this is also like crazy. Which I admire about this guy. He was working average 3 days a week. Business was booming. He was a work to live and not a live to work kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could do
Me
that.
too.
In 1996 to 1997, Marvin saw Gus outside the property and wanted to be neighborly. Check in with him to make sure there weren't any hard feelings after the auction. So Marvin went over to say hi, which it didn't seem like Gus had any hard feelings because as soon as Marvin went over to talk to him, Gus then offered to sell Marvin the land on the spot if he paid $17,500, then the land was all his. It would have been another 2-acre plot. Marvin didn't want to spread himself too thin, so he declined the offer. Imagine going up to your neighbor and you'd be like, "Hey, how are you doing? I just want to make sure like there's no hard feelings." And you're like, "Hey, you want to buy my property?" Yeah, just like wow, that's insane. A year later, Marvin's business was doing well, and he felt like he was now ready for more. So he reached out to Gus about it, but the land was already sold to someone else. You guess who that someone else is? Cody Dochev,
Of course.
the guy who was having problems with. And in 1998, the town went and illegally spot zoned the 2 acres south of him. That was illegal in Colorado, and no one protested it within 30 days. It became the law, and they could do that. Which spot zoning means the land was reclassified as another purpose other than what it was intended to do. Like if it was like a residential area, they would have to spot zone it to be a commercial. So that's what that means. And you can't just do that out of nowhere. Like you have to have meetings about it. And since nobody protested it,
Mm-hmm.
because nobody was against it. Then Marvin finds out that Cody had a burp. Marvin finds out that Cody Jochef was trying to buy the property that was right next door to Marvin. That was the west of him, the one that was spot zoned. You'll find out later why it was spot zoned. You'll probably guess. Cody put a contract on it to purchase it. which he wanted to put that concrete plant there, which is why the property was spot zoned, because it was not classified before to be a concrete plant, but then it was spot zoned, so it could be now. Marvin was worried because it was also going to be right next to all those houses, because there's also houses around there. You probably just heard my water. Marvin felt like Cody's motivation was to get back at him. Marvin said he was in the dust tail of this, and he didn't plant next to him either. 2 parcels of land around Marvin's shop, the one to the west and the one to the south, and one of the parcels was the one that was rezoned. The one that Gus sold to Cody was the one that was west around Marvin's property. Just, I know it gets confusing because there's a lot of land, there's a lot of names and everything in this case. It's a lot, and as I was doing the research, I was like, oh my, there's more. And then I was doing research, I was like, there's more. And then I was like, oh no, is this ever gonna end? In the summer of 1999, they had oppositions of putting the concrete plant in. They had public hearings about it. Dick Brody was the acting mayor because the mayor and the pro tem both had conflicts of interest. It is not surprising, it's a small town.
Yeah.
So he was the one presiding over the public hearings, and they allowed the public to come in. It was a packed house. Some people spoke for it, for the concrete plant service it would provide, and there was a lot of people who spoke out against it. Marvin did a great job with proposal against the batch plant. He felt like the batch plant would harm his business, saying that there would be dust and noise, there would be excels of traffic. He also said who knew what they would do to the water supply, made the argument over the behalf of the people in the neighborhood, and he was able to get these people to show up to the hearings, placating that they didn't want the concrete plant there either, and got them questioning what it would do to the neighborhood. They voiced a lot of the same concerns that Marvin did, and this went on for about 3 to 5 meetings. I also found this, and I wanted to go into this just a little bit, but the town council were just everyday people who wanted to give back. They were trying to make a difference and do what was right. Marvin actually helped them raise issues to solve things, like how Marvin would be like, what about the dust? And Cody would be like, yeah, I could fix that. And they ended up getting a better deal out of the town on the concrete plant because Marvin was bringing up issues that nobody else thought about, and they wanted to make it good for the town, so it was ended up being a better deal because they just better and better as Marvin was asking questions. In the discussion, Cody would jump up and he was upset because I read that completely backwards. In the discussion, Cody would jump up because he was upset. He was described as a fiery guy. Yeah, that's one word for him. Ultimately, the town approved of Cody's batch plant there, and with a lot of conditions, local things that you would see. In that meeting, Marvin promised that he would fight him the whole way over this.
Oh God.
Yeah. Right after, the town starts to crack down on Marvin again over the issue with his water and sewage. Keep in mind there is water on his property. There is a septic tank. The town just wanted him to hook up to the main line. Marvin ended up going to Granby Municipal Court, where a judge was presiding, and she said that they found him in violation and were going to give Marvin a deferred judgment and told him he couldn't use the property for anything until he was hooked up to the main water and sewage line. Again, the distance between Marvin's property and the main line was 400 feet, and it gets even worse because now Cody's property was in the way of that. Cody needed to give Marvin easement, but he wasn't going. And easement, I didn't know what easement meant, so I looked it up, and it's a right to cross or otherwise use someone else's land for a specified purpose. So in order for him to be able to hook up to the main line, he would have to get Cody's approval to go through his land.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The town told Marvin they would find... Okay, this is crazy. This is insane. The town told Marvin that they would fine him $100 a day because of the fact he was operating a business and wasn't hooked up to the main line for water and sewage. Marvin then wrote a check to the town. On the memo line, he wrote "Cowards and Liars Department." They sent the check back and said the amount written on the line was incorrect, and then this angered Marvin, and he ended up showing up at the town hall. He corrected the check, and it ended up clearing, though. From Marvin's perspective, this was just another example of the town not treating him fairly. The Jochefs were moving forward with a proposal and started building when it was not yet approved by the town. Marvin shows up with an attorney and says he thinks they caught him in a mistake. The town then puts an executive order. They put everything on hold until they can decide what to do. Attorney made them check everything, like dotting the I's and crossing the T's, because they wanted to make sure everything was good. They ended up saying they will let him restart from square one so they can do it right this time. However, Marvin was not quitting yet. He filed a lawsuit in district court. Cody called Marvin and told him he would give him easement if Marvin dropped the lawsuit against the town and them. However, Marvin hung up. He just didn't want to deal with him.
He said, nope.
Not today.
Not today.
Not ever.
Not ever.
And then Cody, as soon as he got, like, his plant was being built, he connected to the water and sewage line right away. It was a standard procedure, even though it was expensive. Since Cody hooked up to the water line, it wouldn't have been as much as it was in 1992, because now he didn't have 400 feet to go. He only had, I don't know how many feet, but not as far. The Dochefs were serious about building the concrete plant as quickly as possible. They moved it forward as if there were no barriers to the progress. There even was equipment running as soon as the concrete plant was... I read that wrong again. Oh my god. There was even equipment running as the soon-to-be concrete plant. Like, it wasn't even built yet, and they're having machines running. Working. Isn't that insane?
That is.
Marvin was watching it happen and said he felt like he wasted 10 years of his life because of malice. Marvin spent a lot of money, and all he got was shut down. At one point, Marvin put in $150,000 into this. That's insane.
It is.
Marvin said in the documentary that snicker at him. Wait, I missed a line. 9 months later, the judge dismissed the lawsuit completely. At this point, Marvin had no one on it. His attorney wouldn't appeal the case to a higher court. He felt like his attorney just milked him for money and abandoned him when he appealed to a higher court. Marvin also stated in the documentary that the town would snicker at him. He would be in the post office, on the street, and anywhere in the town. They would snicker at him because they knew he lost. Marvin said they were the fake good guy. It was possible it was political, and maybe Cody had connected. He was able to get around some things, it seemed like. But I don't want to go into too much of that because these guys are millionaires, so I don't really want to get sued.
Yeah.
Marvin believed that the townspeople would get together and talk about him, or talk about how to harm him or take him down. Marvin felt like the town was against him. He said they started getting him with keeping him off the sanitation district in 1992. Gus Harris sold the property to Cody Dochef when they issued the permit to Cody to build the concrete plant and denied that it was for the concrete plant. Marvin questioned that they would just stonewall him and not answer the. He felt like the town was picking and choosing the rules to enforce, and that they turned a blind eye to what Cody was doing and building. Trisha said she never got the feeling he was so angry, and they talked about it, but only a little bit. No one realized how much it impacted Marvin and how it was starting to become He was feeling humiliated, defeated, and didn't know what to do. However, he got inspiration while he was relaxing in his hot tub with a beer in his hand. He said he felt as though God wanted him to do what was coming next. He said God spoke to him. He felt like it had to be done, and it was meant. Marvin said that he wasted 13 years of his life because the Thompsons were mad he bought the property. The middle brother of the Thompson family passed away in 2002. Other people described the Thompsons as the hardest working millionaires in the country. County, not country. I'm gonna reread that. Other people describe the Thompsons as the hardest working millionaires in the country. They choose to work, and they could live off of revenue from the property and could hire people to do the work. Some believe that they may like to do the work. Okay, this next part is kind of like funny. Marvin stated in spring of 2003, the Thompsons were building a foundation for a house below Marvin's house in Granby. He went down to talk to them. Larry was standing by his truck and basically said that Marvin basically said that his family affected his life and for the rest of his life, and told him he owes him and that he wanted $300,000 from him. Larry said it was never going to happen, and Marvin said, I guarantee you, Larry, I'm going to collect. Marvin took that as Larry was confirming things for him and that he knew what he was talking about and what had to. This is when it like starts to like, I feel bad for Marvin, but now it's like getting too much. Like, you could have just let this go.
Yeah.
You could have just let this go at this point. Like, you could have just been like, okay, I'm done. No.
Yeah.
But it gets even worse. When Marvin first started his business in Granby, a news reporter, I love the name of this reporter
Mm-hmm.
place. News reporter from Sky High News named Patrick Brower came to Marvin and as if he asked if he wanted to do a new business story and if he wanted to do some advertising. Marvin was only open for certain hours and days. Marvin worked his business hours around his snowmobiling. Patrick went back 3 or 4 more times, and Marvin was never there. But I just love that Sky High News. It sounds like it would be like
I know it does.
when Patrick was able to run into Marvin. Marvin was so upset with him for not doing the article. Patrick gave him a free ad, which would have costed Marvin about $200. He just put a free ad in the. He didn't charge. Another thing that happened with the new station is they released letters that Marvin had written, which gambling in Granby, and they were edited, but the paper. Alright, I typed some of this on my phone, so I totally autocorrect. Another thing that happened with the new station is they released letters that Marvin had written, which supported gambling in Granby, and they were edited before the paper released. And Marvin was upset about this because he didn't know that they were releasing the letters and that the fact, which I don't know why they released them anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. Marvin said in his tapes that Bauer hated him and his perspective and that he just never did it, that he kept him from getting additional publicity. Casey Farewell was part of the town council and said he just wanted to do some good in the town. He moved to Granby in 1978 and his wife opened a shop. Others said that he wouldn't have ever had any ill intent. Marvin said he was part of the problem. No, I don't think he is.
No.
Marvin and Cody both worked hard to get where they were. Cody's personality is he will just tell you how it is, brutally honest. So I think that's maybe why they clashed, because they were so alike.
Yeah.
Is what I would think.
Mm-hmm.
However, now is whenever we're getting into the nitty gritty of this. In the summer of 2002, Marvin went to California. He saw an ad on Ritchie Brothers auction site for a Komatsu D35 or D355A bulldozer. Marvin bid on it and got it at a price of $30,000. This dozer is huge. He had it driven on a flatbed all the way from oh Jesus. He had it driven on a flatbed from California all the way to Granby, Colorado. It was delivered July of 2002, and they were unloading it at 1 to 2 a.m. So in the middle of the night, they're just unloading this big dozer.
Oh my god.
He had it parked on the access road of his muffler shop property. Blade was facing out on the dirt road. In the middle of the blade, he had a for sale sign. It ended up sitting there the winter of 2002 2003. So he bought this dozer and just let it sit there for sale. He said that the bulldozer was bought for a few different reasons. He told people different reasons each time they spoke of it. The one reason was for intimidation, so Cody would be worried that it was there. He told someone else that he bought it so he could make a new entrance to his shop because the dough chef's concrete plant blocked his main. I believe the second one more.
Yeah.
But at the same time, why didn't he use it?
Mm-hmm.
And then this is a quote from Marvin. He said, God wanted these people to learn, and he knew I eventually would get to the point where I wouldn't put up with what they were taking away from me or for what they had tonight. God knew Marv Heemeyer very well. Cody was offering to buy Marvin's property. Marvin saw an opportunity to sell his 2-acre parcel that he bought at the auction. He put it at a price of $250,000, which was 6 times more than what he paid for it. Cody agreed immediately, but then Marvin backed out and said, "Nope, I want $375,000 for it." And then Cody then agreed again.
Oh my god.
Marvin then backed out again, and it's alleged that he told Cody $1 million and that he could have it. Cody only wanted the land, not the property with the building. That's just funny. Cody offered to buy it. Marvin was like, "Yep." He was like, "Okay," and then he was like, "Nope, I want this much." You had an out. You had an out here. You could have just had him buy it, and you could have moved away. But no. Marvin had a way out, but he chose to take this path. The allegation was that the town ruined Marvin's business. Although the town didn't do anything to shut him down, he still had access to his property. Marvin made the choice to shut down his muffler shop, and he put it up for auction. He said, God has his timings, his plan made out, and it looked like it was going to be because the one thing I have wanted to do was get caught. I hope that someone would catch me and that this whole thing would stop, and that would be a good sign for me. He's delusional.
Yeah. A little bit.
Marvin did the auction of all of the materials relating to his shop. The dozer was included in those items. The Komatsu dozer was in great condition. Marvin was willing to take $33,000 for it, but he couldn't get any bids on it, so he ended up keeping it. Then Marvin had 5 things in the auction, all for $450,000. They all sold except for the dozer and the shop. There was not one bid on those 2 things. Those 2 things didn't sell, so Marvin took this also as a sign. He said if they would have sold if and he would have walked away. He believed because of that he wasn't supposed to walk away. To Marvin, this felt like he was meant to do, and this is what he was meant to do and not walk away. I think maybe they just didn't want the dozer because it's a dozer. Yeah. What do they use a dozer for?
Yeah, seriously.
But this part's even like crazier. Trisha didn't smoke for 9 years, but became a closet smoker. Marvin didn't like that. They got into an argument over it. He broke up with her over it. His friend said he didn't know the details, but from how Marvin talked about Trisha, that he was very in love with her. It was possibly easier to break it off. It looked like he was looking for any reason to break up with her. But they were together for 10 years. And then she smoked, and he was like, nope, I'm done.
Oh my god.
Like, jeez, you're crazy, guy.
You're not gonna be like, you're quitting smoking or I'm leaving. You're just like, nope.
I'm done.
Bye. See ya. Enjoy your life.
Yeah, like, wow. You couldn't just, like, have a conversation first?
I know. That's crazy.
In the fall of 2003, Marvin was still unsure what to do with his property. Because he wanted to sell it, but he couldn't at the auction. This guy, Travis Bussey, and his partner owned a trash company, and they were able to negotiate with Marvin to have his 2 acres as a staging point for all their trucks. Travis was looking for an area that was more commercial, that had a garage, and that could keep his trucks in during the winter. Marvin had the perfect building for what Travis was looking for. Marvin decided that he was going to bring the dozer inside. It just barely fit through the door. The dozer is 2 inches shorter than 12 feet, was 11 feet 10 inches, 1 inch narrower than the door. So Marvin thought this was another sign showing him this is what he was supposed to do, like it was meant to be put in the garage so he can build on it. I didn't tell you. He puts steel and cement on this dozer. He questioned, why did that particular dozer fit in the garage? Why had I not bought one of the T9s that were at the auction? Maybe because this one was a better price?
Yeah.
I mean, I do feel bad for Marvin. I do. And some people think of him as a hero. Other people think of him as otherwise.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how to feel because it's 2 sides to every story. You don't know if the town
Yeah.
is lying. You don't know if Marvin's telling the truth. You don't know if he was just delusional at this time. You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
It's just all like he said, she said type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know it's like actually true.
Yeah.
Or like what side of the story to believe because people can twist things.
Yeah, exactly.
So like it's hard.
So we are not indecisive. Know what I'm trying to say?
Are you talking about Marvin or
that? Like when we have like no say,
no choice?
like we have no opinion.
Neutral.
Yeah.
We're
neutral.
Yeah, we're neutral on this. Because like I do feel bad for Marvin, and you'll find out why. But at the same time, you could have walked away.
Yeah.
You could have walked away. In the late November of 2003, Travis offered Marvin $400,000 for his property. Marvin agreed to sell the land to him. Within 24 hours, Travis had the water and sewage hooked up to the line. Even though Travis bought the property, Marvin rented it back, the building he put the dozer in. They had a 6-month agreement. After 6 months, Marvin was to leave. So he bought the property and then re-rented it.
Makes sense.
Makes total sense.
Yeah.
Marvin said basically this is the first time he done something the way they wanted to do it. He wanted to do it in secret to lie to them. Once he back rented from Travis the building, he started building onto the dozer in secret. When people asked him what he was doing, he would say he wasn't doing anything. When Travis bought the building, they had to have insurance on everything in the building, on the property, so they had to do an actual walkthrough. Marvin had the dozer half done at this time, and it was covered with polypropylene tarps. When they came in and they asked what it was, Marvin came up with a story about a professor was perfecting a cooling system which would cool the air and increase the performance of the engine. Ultimately, they believed him. And they just walked out.
God.
Would you believe that crazy story?
No.
Right? But Marvin took this as yet another sign that this is what he was supposed to do and not get caught.
My God.
Just crazy. Here I am trying to drink my water with the lid closed. Marvin sold his home and he spent 2003 in the building. He lived there without showering for days upon days at a time, much as 4 days, he said. He built a little sleeping area with a cot, a TV, a hot plate, water, so he could work on the dozer 24. He bought sheets of steel, had torches, all kinds of tools in the shed. Marvin built a lift that could lift large and heavy things like the sheets of steel. It would lift the object up and hold them in place while he was able to weld it. The steel plate was half-inch thick, was layered with spacers in between. So there was layers of steel between them. He poured concrete in the space. He would work on it at night and sleep during the day, so then you would think that someone would know or find out what he was doing, but no one ever did. Marvin put surveillance on the outside of the building and had monitors on the inside. Marvin watched Travis and them to find out their schedule, so he knew that they left between 5 or 6 p.m. Then he was free to work on and make noise since he was alone. Marvin knew he would be spending a lot of time working on a dozer, so he brought a small collection of movies. One was a Vin Diesel movie called A Man Apart. The movie is about a hero who loses his wife to gang violence and he takes the law into his own hands. The bad guys, and the movie ends with him alone with it, but the corrupt society is pure. Winter of 2003 to 2004, he went snowmobiling. He thought something would come up to change his mind. He just went snowmobiling. Some fun.
Yeah.
But then March of 2004, Marvin's father passed away. He goes back to South Dakota to pay his respects and to visit his childhood home one last time. He was also helping pack things up to sell the property there. Marvin gave his father all the money from the property he sold in Colorado. His father in turn left it to his two brothers, which could be how he wanted it. Maybe he wanted it to be impossible for the town to go after the money. He transferred it in $50,000 increments until his father had it all. When he returned to Colorado, Marvin gave away his snowmobile. Now we get into June 4th of 2004. Just started out showing you a video of the bulldozer because it's insane. Like, it's loud and stuff.
Yeah.
June 4th, 2004 was a quiet. Why?
Talking is hard.
I don't know what's wrong with me today. I cannot talk. Okay. I think I'm just stumbling over my words because my brain's trying to move faster than my mouth.
Yeah.
June 4th, 2004 was a quiet spring day at first, just a normal day. Marvin lowered the armor onto the dozer. With the armor now being on the dozer, Marvin couldn't get through the doors, so he just rammed through the wall of what used to be his shop. He just went right through it. just start with taking down the shop. At this point, it's a tank. Marvin refers to it as an MK tank. It is very, very loud, has a diesel engine. It's so loud it's roaring. I can't say that word. The tread is creaking as it moves. The ground shakes when it moves as well. The dozer with the armor weighs 85 tons. It moves very, very slow. 85 tons is 187,393 pounds. That's very heavy.
Yeah.
I also read somewhere that it's equal to 90 big buses.
My God.
So he put the steel and the concrete over the dozer, so now it has armor over it. And Marvin had targets to take down buildings and stuff. Guess where Marvin's first stop was?
Oh no.
Marvin's first stop was Cody's concrete plant. He went right through the building. Cody said he instantly knew it was Marvin. So if he instantly knew it was Marvin, he knew he did something wrong.
Yeah.
I'd be guilty to feel.
Mm-hmm.
Although Marvin and collect yourself. And he thought Marvin had a remote control and was controlling it from far away because the dozer had no exit or entrance. The dozer was encased all around with concrete and steel. There was no way Marvin couldn't get out or could get out. Cody didn't want to let Marvin destroy everything he worked for. So Cody got a gun and shot several times at the dozer, but there was no effect. It did absolutely nothing because it's encased in steel and concrete.
Yeah.
Why would you try to shoot at it? Like, you think it would ricochet. And,
Yeah.
like,
Exactly. And come right back at him. Like,
it didn't, though, which is insane. Next, Cody and workers tried to jam the tread with a steel pole, but it also didn't do anything. Then Cody tried to get on the bulldozer, probably to see if he could get into it or if there was an opening, but he kept sliding off. He later stated that it seemed like it was covered in grease.
I'm just like imagining what this must look like. It's pretty funny, honestly.
It's funny. But, like, he just I don't know. It gets worse though.
Oh no.
Finally, someone got the idea to lift the dozer, so Cody got into the largest front end loader and slams into the side of the dozer, trying to throw it off and lift it. But all this does is lift the back of the loader Cody is in. Cody then backed up and rammed into the dozer again as hard as he could, but it didn't do anything but knock him out because he hit the glass hard. I didn't tell you this, but Marvin also had weapons on this dozer too. So Marvin fired several rounds of shots, and then the sound woke Cody up, and somehow none of the bullets hit him and ended up hitting the bucket next to him instead.
Wow.
Yeah. At this point, Cody stopped trying to stop him and let the police take him. Should have from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand you're trying to defend your business, but, like, you're in danger here, guy. The police noticed small portholes, and they ended up being covered by 2-inch thick material. Became let's see, because of the armor, Marvin couldn't see out of the windshield, so he had cameras on the outside. 5 cameras hooked up to 3 different monitors to help him see where he was going. So it's like a video game. Well, not really, because it's on like TVs, but it's just crazy. Like, he thought, okay, I'm not gonna be able to see out this windshield. Let me just hook up monitors and cameras. Like, he really thought that.
Yeah, I did.
Also had a system where it sprayed forced air to keep the cameras clean so he could see.
Jeez.
He also had 3 weapons and guns on the door. Marvin sees police through the cameras and tries to get them to move. He fires more rounds at them, but they all miss, and when he sees it's not working, he decides that he's just going to drive right through the barriers.
Oh my god.
Somehow, the police were able to move before he made it to them, which is insane. The dozer moves very slow.
Yeah.
And I didn't mention this, but, like, the tread, the documentary is called Tread because the tread sunk so deep into the dirt, it was visible for years.
Wow.
Because it was just so deep in there.
Yeah.
I think you could still see some of it today. His second target is Mountain. I keep wanting to say Mountain Pines. His second target is Mountain Park Electric Company. Connection with this one is loose because it is believed that one of the town council members worked there. On Marvin's way there, police officer decided he was going to get on top of the dozer. He was able to climb it, but he didn't see any openings besides a vent hole, and he thought that was the AC unit he hooked up to it. Officer tried to shoot at it and tried to throw a flashbang in the cabin. The smoke didn't get it. Officer jumped off and ran into the electric company. As soon as Marvin was done with that target, he started towards his next target, which was the town hall. Town hall shares a building with the local library. I gotta look at. Okay, so I only typed up some of my research. So now I'm going to read from my notebook, and please forgive me because my handwriting sucks and I'm gonna mess up a lot. So cute. The town hall shares a building with the library. Town hall is on the top floor. The library is on the bottom floor. This is like very like. On this day, the library is filled with kids. Reverse 911 call comes in for the town to evacuate. The call came in just in time for them to get the kids out. They got out just 2 minutes before Marvin came crashing into the town hall.
Wow.
he didn't know that there were supposed to be kids that day.
Yeah.
He just thought it was just a town hall. He didn't
Mhm.
know. So I don't think he meant to like actually hurt anyone.
Mhm.
But that's just crazy that it came in just in time in 2 minutes. Marvin completely destroyed the town hall, and the local authorities were trying uh to the local authorities were trying to blank more help. Get okay. The local authorities were trying to get more help. The SWAT team, they were trying to get into another huge vehicle to stop it, but nothing stops the dozer. The dozer just crashes into it. Cops were surrounding the dozer alongside trying to stop it. Law enforcement tried shooting it with many different weapons and it didn't penetrate it. It did nothing to stop it. It's like they couldn't do anything to stop this dozer.
Wow.
Because it has 2 inch of steel, a lot of concrete in between the 2 inches of steel, and then another 2 inches of steel. And then he also has weapons.
Yeah.
So like, and it's huge. Like it's 85 tons. Like that's a lot.
Mhm.
So his next target was Sky High newspaper, where Patrick Brower was having a normal Friday morning. All of a sudden, an officer ran into the newspaper building saying he needed to get out of there and that he was on the list and leave immediately. Patrick didn't know what was happening. He didn't get the reverse 911 call. He thought it was a joke and it took a bit for him to get convinced. He and others got out the back as Marvin okay, this is crazy. He and the others got out the back of the building as Marvin was running into the building
Wow.
with the dozer. So like they almost got like
Mhm.
crushed. This building collapsed and the others were still standing in a way, so this one was like completely destroyed. The dozer was covered in debris on the top. There was cement blocks, wood beams, which you can see in the video. The sound was so loud, so much screeching from bumping and rummaging into everything. He ran into cars, buildings, anything and everything that was in the way. And there were tread marks everywhere. The tread marks were so present, like I said, it was so deep in the dirt. The next target is the Thompson's house.
Oh no.
There is a small house in the town. The mother of the family was sleeping on the couch. This was 30 minutes before Marvin arrived. He was just taking a nap. One of the sons called her to tell her to get out of town. She thought it was a joke, but after going back and forth a lot of convincing, she was like, okay, fine, I'll leave. And she leaves. This place was not habitable after he ran through it. Marvin moved to the shop that was nearby and he went through each of their businesses one by one. There was a nearby construction yard, shop, properties. Marvin tipped over so many tractor trailers on their sides and they folded, struck in half against the building. So he was like just tearing up everything. Just
Wow.
imagine like a tractor
Yeah.
trailer is huge,
Mhm.
and for it to do that to them. People of the town, they were watching the dozer and around it happening. Even though he had guns attached, they were just sitting there, just watching, like it was like some like TV show. They were at a reasonably safe distance after like watching this. Like they were pretty far away, but still, like I would not do that. He decided to move on to his next target, which was an independent gas company that had propane tanks outside. This one is the most dangerous so far because he began firing at the propane tank,
Oh my
trying to
god.
get them to blow up. In the blast radius was a senior center, a bunch of businesses, and a trailer park. Marvin is firing so many rounds at the tanks. He wanted it to blow, but again, out of like some like miracle, all of them miss. And not because he was bad at aim, but part of the dozer was actually blocking the sights and caught up against it. And so he couldn't shoot because it wasn't set up properly. If he set it up properly, he probably would have been able to shoot people.
Wow. There's like so many like close calls in
Yeah.
this. Like,
And it was also like covered with clouds of smoke too, so he also couldn't see that either, like through
yeah.
that. But like you think, okay, now is the time to tell you like this is not what you're meant to do. Like you're not meant to do this, Marvin. Like you could have stopped this. Um Police, since he was trying to shoot these propane tanks, police have to evacuate at least 1,000 feet because there was 8 or 9 of these propane tanks in a row. So the fact that he missed all 8 or 9 of them was just a miracle. However, he did manage to knock off the power by hitting the transformer, so the power of the town got knocked off because of that. Town found two large scrapers that look like big construction vehicles. They are machines that look like tractors together. It's used to move the earth in small distances and met Marvin onto the next location, but the dozer would just move them. They were bigger but not heavier, so the dozer just like pushed them away. You have like just because they're bigger doesn't mean that they can move the dozer.
Yeah.
Like they have to be heavy
Yeah.
too. They don't realize that the dozer's 85 tons because they don't know how much cement and steel's on it. But they moved them like they were nothing. A small win for the town. Dozer was starting to leak antifreeze because there were big white clouds coming from the front, which hindered Marvin's vision, and he hit copycat printing on the way to the Gambles. Oh, the Gambles is Casey Frazier's, or I think that's his last name, Casey
Mhm.
Farewell's shop. I didn't mention that earlier, so that's why he's hitting this one. But Marvin, Marvin, he accidentally hit copycat printing on the way to the Gambles. Marvin ran into the front of the Gambles, but he was starting to lose power, but he was able to rip off the front of the store. He decided to move down the side to get rid of the side too. They were still thinking of how to stop him. They put another scraper vehicle behind him to try to stop him from backing out. Gambles had a basement though, and none of the other businesses had one. So the dozer ended up getting stuck. One of the wheels went into the basement. The dozer powers off. The first time in hours, it was quiet. Imagine that.
Yeah.
This is happening for hours, by the
Ow.
way. This went on for like 2 to 3 hours,
Mhm.
and it's just nothing but loudness. And then it finally stops, and it's just quiet. That's
That
scary.
is.
Law enforcement thought Marvin had planned more and that they were preparing, but all they heard was a single gunshot. SWAT team came onto the scene, and all they did was discover the dozer. They thought if Marvin wasn't dead, then he had to be from the blasts. So they just tried to get entry. So forces came with torches to cut through. It took 12 to 13 hours for them to gain entry
Wow.
by cutting it. By mid morning on the 5th, when they were able to cut through, they found Marvin's body with a single gunshot wound, which he had died from. Dozer was disassembled and scrapped, so no one could get anything to a shrine to it or to Marvin. Anything to the town thought they should be able to keep it for a tourist spot because after a lot of tourists came to Granby, they wanted to keep it to make money.
Oh my god. Of course they did.
Okay, why is the town? Why? Why do you want to make money from it? No. However, Marvin caused $7 million worth of damage to the town. He destroyed 13 businesses. Only life lost was his, which is like sad, but it's also like he shot at people and he could have killed
Yeah.
somebody, but he
And a
didn't.
bunch of kids, which is
It's a miracle.
yeah.
The public reaction was mixed. Some people were appalled. Well, most people were appalled. Some people thought he was an American hero, or the little guy fighting back against the man. They saw Marvin as a man who was wronged, and so he took the law into his own hands. American patriot. Marvin knew people would have their opinions, so he recorded 2 to 3 hours worth of tapes in April and May, and he sent them to his brother, who then turned them into the FBI, and they released them to the public, which shed light on his perspective.
Crazy.
It's really crazy, and like in the documentary, you can hear like Marvin talk because they have like recordings and
Yeah.
stuff. But they also, like I said, he has 2 to 3 hours worth of recordings that he just did on his own. It's kind of crazy. Like, recorded them in April and May and then sent them to his brother. And his brother didn't turn them in until after this happened.
Oh my god.
So you think, like, oh, if you would have turned this in beforehand, he probably. You need to look up the Killdozer. But Whistle and Diesel, the guy that bought a Komatsu dozer,
Yeah.
he he had it driven from where he bought it to Granby, Colorado, and he just
God.
paraded around this
Oh my
dozer and
God.
he interviewed people. It was crazy. You see, the first video is him. He's like, I'm building the Killdozer.
Jeez.
Here, I want you to watch this video, and I want to get your reaction.
Oh my God. Dude.
It's huge.
I mean, I knew it was huge, but just watching it, it's like, holy crap, it really is huge.
Yeah.
Like,
And you could see it's encased in armor.
yeah.
Because once he lifted the armor down, he was encased in it. You can hear how loud it is too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It was crazy.
It's huge. But yeah, I learned about this case like a month ago, and whenever, like, because Jeremy likes to watch like those YouTube videos, and sometimes like I'll just like look over, and I was like, and he was like, oh, this is about the Killdozer, because Whistle and Diesel was like talking about it, and he bought a dozer. I was like, what's the Killdozer? And he's like, you've never even heard of it? He's like, I've heard of it. You've never heard of it? Like, you're a true crime fanatic. Like, you've never heard of it? And I was like, no, I've never heard of this. And he was like, look up a video right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I did. And I was like, oh, maybe this will be like a Patreon episode. And like, as I was researching, because I didn't think it was going to be that much.
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't think it was going to be this detailed. And I was just like, oh, it's just a guy that was upset with the town. That's all it's going to be.
Yeah.
But it turned out like there's a lot more to it. Like, I didn't even cover all of it. Like, there's more in the documentary. There's more like things that I didn't want to say because it's kind of like questionable opinions, and like I said,
you don't know what's true and what's not.
It's not that, but like these guys are millionaires, so like I didn't want to say anything that would really harm them. Yeah. Or say my actual opinion, because like you don't know like if anything would happen. But yeah, so that's the case of Marvin Heemeyer, the Killdozer.
Also, I feel bad for like all the business have to like start over. Yeah. Like that's so much work.
It is.
And a lot of money too.
Yeah, because he made $7 million worth of damage.
Yeah.
And that's like the reason why he gave his father the money, so they couldn't trace it back to him. Couldn't get the money. That's probably why he also sold his property and stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like taking it. But yeah, so
I'm glad nobody was killed by the Killdozer.
Yeah, because it's called Killdozer. Yeah. So you think like, oh, people die.
It's meant to kill people, so.
But it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't.
It's like a miracle.
Thank God. Like,
yeah.
Which is totally insane that it didn't, because there were so many close calls, like real close.
Yeah. 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 So I hope this was a little bit of a palate cleanser. I tried to go over quickly Marvin's death because I know it's trigger for a lot of people. That's why I just like quickly said it.
Yeah.
So it was like good and over with. But so yeah. And yeah, so you can what do we do now?
Follow us on Instagram.
Yeah, Facebook, TikTok, at Dreadfully Twisted Podcast. Our Gmail is dreadfullytwistedpodcast@gmail.com. You can send us your stories or cases you want us to cover. Or you can comment on our Reddit at Dreadfully Twisted Pod.
Subscribe to us on YouTube.
Yes, subscribe to us on YouTube. And please, please, please tell your friends about us if you like to listen to us. Share us with other people so we can get more of you.
Every follower and like means so much.
It really does. Yeah. And if you could, please give us a 5-star review.
Yes.
That helps a bunch.
Definitely does.
You just pop up a review, just be like 5 stars, they're great or whatever. Or whatever.
Yeah, you could do that on Spotify and Facebook.
Facebook, too. Spotify. I think you could do it on I think you could do it on I think you could just
yeah.
But yeah, and stay positive.
On your friends.
Spread love.
Don't be a bad person.
Don't be the Killdozer.
Yeah, don't try making a Killdozer. Do not try this at home.
10 out of 10, do not recommend.
Yeah, 10 out of 10, don't recommend.
And just be a decent human being.
Yeah, don't get any ideas. We don't want to cover you on the podcast.
Yeah, we don't want to. And we'll see you next week.
Yes, we will. Bye. Bye.